let's talk about something really tough. When trust breaks down in a relationship, finding your way forward can feel, well, impossible. You're dealing with doubt, suspicion, anxiety. These feelings can just completely take over. So how do you find any kind of clarity? And that's not just a saying. That feeling, that constant questioning in the back of your mind, it's a truly powerful and destructive force. It really does eat away at you, and it can destroy the very foundation of your partnership. So what happens when you've talked and talked, but you just end up going in circles? You're left with even more questions than when you started. It's a really tough place to be. And that's often when people start looking for something, well, something a little more objective, something grounded in science. So let's focus on those really difficult situations where talking just isn't cutting it anymore. This is for anyone out there who feels like they've hit a total wall and just needs some objective facts to figure out how to move forward. And this is where a polygraph test can come into the picture. Now, instead of thinking of it as an accusation, try to see it as a tool designed to cut right through the confusion. When you feel like you've tried everything else, it's a scientific method for getting a clear, honest answer. So let's break down the different ways mistrust can actually show up in a relationship because, it's rarely just about one thing. Doubt has a way of creeping into all sorts of corners of a shared life. Of course, there are the big ones, the most common and painful forms of infidelity that create so much doubt. These are the kinds of questions that literally keep people up at night, wondering about physical acts, secret emotional connections, or a hidden life on dating sites. But it goes deeper. Mistrust is also built on a lack of just honest communication. Things like hiding important information, deleting messages to cover tracks, or lying about where you are or what you're doing. Each one of those actions creates another crack in the foundation of the relationship. And hey, mistrust isn't only about romance. Financial secrets can be just as destructive. We're talking about hidden expenses, secret debts, or taking money from a shared budget without permission. That stuff can shatter trust just as completely. And finally, another major source of conflict is secrecy around personal behaviors and addictions. Whether it's secret substance use, gambling, or other hidden habits, the secrecy itself creates this profound sense of betrayal and instability. Okay, so we've clearly defined the problem of doubt. How do we move toward a solution? Well, it involves shifting away from all that emotional chaos and toward the structured, clear approach of a scientific examination. And that's the professional term for it. It sounds complicated, but the idea is actually pretty straightforward. It's a study of how the mind, the psycho part, affects the body, the physio part. The process measures things your body does automatically, things you can't control, like your heart rate and breathing, to see how you react when answering specific questions. Now, what's really interesting here is the high accuracy rate. A professionally conducted test can reach an accuracy level of up to 98%, and that level of precision is absolutely crucial, because when the stakes are this high, you want to minimize any chance of error. The entire process is really built on three core pillars. First, there's objectivity, because it's based on measurable physiological data, not just someone's opinion. Then there's accuracy, aiming for the highest possible precision so you can draw the right conclusions. And finally, anonymity, which ensures the results are kept strictly confidential and are only shared with the person who ordered the test. So, after going through this process, what kind of clarity can you actually expect to gain? What answers can it really provide? The process aims to give you a clear path forward in 4 key areas. It starts by analyzing honesty around fidelity. Then, it can help verify financial truthfulness. It can also identify those hidden habits or dependencies we talked about. And ultimately, the goal is to bring all of this together to build a solid foundation of facts, so you can make informed, clear-headed decisions about what's next. So, what's the experience actually like? Let's quickly run through some of the most common questions to help demystify the whole process. One of the first things people always want to know is about the time commitment. Is this an all-day thing? Nope, not at all. A typical examination usually takes about 90 to 120 minutes from start to finish. Okay, this next one is probably the most critical question for anyone even thinking about this. What about privacy? The answer is simple and absolute. Yes, it is completely confidential. The results are provided only to the client who requested the test. Period. This is a big one. A lot of people think, well, of course they're going to be nervous. Won't that mess up the results? And that's a great question. The methodology is specifically designed to tell the difference between the general anxiety that anyone would feel in that situation and the very specific physiological reactions that are linked to deception. To a trained professional, those two responses look very different in the data.
The crucial point in all of this is that whether your goal is to rebuild a relationship or to find the strength you need to move on, the first step is always the same. It absolutely has to be built on a foundation of truth.
Living with constant suspicion is just plain exhausting. This process is all about replacing that doubt with certainty, so it really just leaves you with one final question to think about. What will it take for you to finally put an end to the doubt?